into his helmet did not make things any easier for him. Had he blown off the wing of the Stearman on takeoff, there was no way he would have survived the event. Anton admitted to me years later that of all the stunts and crazy things he had done over the years, this was perhaps the closest he ever got to meeting his maker. The next is Anton carefully and calmly explaining to the near hysterical girlfriend of an unconscious tandem passenger why one suppository would instantly cure his low blood levels that undoubtedly caused him to pass out in mid-air, provided that she first removed the plastic wrapper from the chocolate bar before inserting the remedy into the indicated part of his anatomy. I can still see Anton painstakingly stalking a herd of buffalo for a few hours in pouring rain across a swamp in ankle-deep water and shoulder-high adrenaline grass somewhere in the Omwe region of Zimbabwe, until he got close enough to the breeding bull or Dagga boy to deliver a Texas hard shot from behind the piece, meaning that the poor animal received the lead suppository up his stomach. I recall Anton taking me as his passenger during tandem training on my first ever tandem skydive to show me how it all hangs together and what to do when things go wrong on the big screen of life. I remember being quite relaxed during this experience, with Anton reassuringly taking charge. But I also recall an image of Anton spiraling his brand new Pintail high-performance parachute into the ground, shattering his femur in a number of places during an attempted hook turn landing at the Stellenbosch airfield, with me holding his hand and telling him not to pass out all the way to Mediclinic Hospital at Somerset West. I see Anton taking Nicholas and Alexander on their first ever hunts in the Karoo in Namibia, and then playing endless rounds of desert golf with Thomas, Bernard and me in the red sands of the Namibia Kalahari Desert, on a farm somewhere between Foyce and Courthouse, whilst our enormous pot of Springbok venison simmered away, whilst it was consumed in installments and nursed to perfection over a period of 1 week. I see Anton exiting a Cessna aircraft with me and Plania Moller's then girlfriend, and bitterly cold winter tandem jump 10,000 feet above Plania's Karoo farm in Canal. And the same day, I unfortunately managed to kill a black swan, one of only 2 birds comprising Plania's treasured black swan breeding pit. I recall Anton saving the day at Stellenbosch airfield when 2 guys high and an out-of-control Mandrax tried to drive the Nissan sedan into a group of unsuspecting skydivers, friends and family relaxing on the lawn in front of the clubhouse on a lazy Sunday afternoon. I see Anton carefully guarding over us with his 9mm handgun, watching out for hippos and crocodiles, whilst Bruce Molson and I were having a proper wash in the Kunini River at our bush camp under the anna trees along the top end of the marine fluss grass plains, midway through a 20-day Korkalab trip with a myriad of quirks and scores of experiences. I recall Anton arranging a celebratory and somewhat defiant braai at the rebuilt aircraft hangar on the first anniversary of the fire, which destroyed all of our parachuting equipment, 2 of the 3 aircraft at Delta 200 airfield. I also recall Anton again saving Dalbacon when a group of skydivers, including me, were about to exit an aircraft high above thick fog, a few kilometers off the Langebaan-Saldanha Bay coastline, mistakenly believing that we were over land. Hypothermia and or drowning would have been our outcome for all of us, but for Anton. I also see Anton catching his first blue marlin off St. Vincent, one of the Cape Verde Islands, and the 2 of us only just surviving a tropical windstorm on a subsequent trip to the same area. I recall Anton untiringly traveling long distances to see many venues and very patiently, attentively making countless early breakfasts, mixing energy and recovery drinks, and waiting for hours on end at water points and finishing lines as our solar backup team for the most of the multi-day mountain bike stages, events which friends like Andre van der Veen, Tim LaRue, Herman van der Berg, and in particular participated in across South Africa, Europe, and Canada. I see Anton yet again coming to the rescue as he fired away from high ground at a wounded buffalo charging towards an unsuspecting Canadian Tom Brighton somewhere in the Jutani region of Zimbabwe, well before any of us had this awareness to see what was happening or respond appropriately. I also see Anton reversing both the engines of my speedboat into Pierhead at Stillbay Harbour, telling me as that was what I deserved for being idiotic enough to trust the vessel to a man who does not know the first thing about boats. And that might be one of the only things that Anton couldn't do, is drive a boat. I recall Anton, a non-fisherman, catching all 5 species of Canadian salmon in a single day off Prince Rupert on the Canadian west coast, just to declare by the end of the day that there was nothing to fishing, that he did not understand what all the hype was about, that he had no interest in the salmon and crab feast that we were about preparing for dinner, and that he was quite happy to stick to spaghetti, a dish prepared by himself and mixed with a little bit of Marmite for flavor. I see Anton making fairly creative modifications to my gutters and installing piping to my rainwater tanks well into his illness, and just because he wanted to figure out whether and how his rainwater capturing system could work for my house. And I hear Anton explaining to me in his very own refreshing and logical way 2 weeks before his death that I should not be upset about him checking out, that it would have been impossible for him to have had more experiences and adventures into a single lifetime, and that he was now completed his journey. That if and when I missed him, I should only focus on the countless times of great experiences we've had, which by far exceeded the most humans could have ever hoped to extract from one life. So many of the memories, images, and Anton movies in my head. I wanted to also reflect on the more serious dimensions of Anton's life. Anton loved taking calculated risks. He often said that facing and conquering risks made him feel alive, good to be greedy. He also said that in assessing risk, one should be prepared for the worst, and that if the worst would eventuate, it would then turn out to be a great experience. In his prime, Anton was, without any doubt, the person with the most instinctive and keenest sense of situational awareness I had ever come across. He saw the corporal approaching the fan way before anybody else did. This well-developed sense of adventure, coupled with his infectious sense of humor and inquisitive mind, could easily cause people who didn't know Anton to brand him as an all-action, fun-loving, and politically incorrect, but with little substance. However, for those of us who scratched below the surface and really got to know him, Anton's essence and values far surpassed any initial impression of an Afro-Italian stallion or action man superficially goofing around the southern tip of Africa. So what do I see as the substance, the deeper meaning and the legacy which Anton leaves to those who love him and wish to remember him for who he really was? These are the Anton truths which stand out for me. Always aim to make people laugh as much as possible. It is probably the greatest gift you can hand out to anyone. And have as much fun as you are able to, which is what you owe to yourself. Do not be blind or influenced by size, fame, bling, beauty, and what it means to live an integrated life. Integrity also means to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Find joy in simple things like ride with friends, a little siesta in the afternoon, a well-kept herb garden, a really sunrise tomato, and a basic pasta dish with no trimmings and plenty of good red wine. Despite a reputation of being frugal, money and things material actually meant very little to Anton. He put relationships first and was blindingly and unconditionally loyal to those he considered his friends. I always knew that Anton's assistance was only a phone call away, and many of his friends lived with the same assurance. Anton also helped and guided many youngsters over the years, as his own children and adopted sons like Thomas Shields, Thomas Pretorius, Jonathan Barnett, and Keegan Walker were all professors. I too was the beneficiary of him helping people who were just starting out in life. I was quite anxious to travel to Mexico for my brother's 50th at the time that Anton was nearing his end. I discussed this dilemma with Anton's, and with him, and Anton's usual sober logic came through clearly when he told me not to be an idiot and that he was at peace and ready to go, that he had shared all the adventures and good times that we could possibly have hoped for, and that it was more important for me to spend time with my brother and the rest of my family, with whom I will continue on this life's journey. He also said that him dying was no big deal, that he had all the care and love he needed until he moved on to the happy hunting grounds in the heavens, that we were all heading in that direction, and that the person who lives life as if he or she is immortal is a complete jewess. which was all the more reason why, despite his terminal illness, he wanted me to spend as much time as possible with my family. And for that, it remains the brilliance of Anton, man, his almost dispassionate ability to see things clearly for what they really are, made him the times unpliable, but very vulnerable and steadfastly allied to those he loved, to all his friends in need. I finished this tribute and reflections in the courtyard garden of Frida Kahlo's Blue House in Mexico. The interior garden of the house of this famous Mexican artist would have pleased Anton. It is simple, beautiful, tranquil, and peaceful, the way I believe his life ended for Anton. Go well, my soulmate, until we meet again. Thank you for always leading the way, clarity when it really mattered, such as now. I will love you in this life, whatever comes next. All right, that was from Koos. Next, we will hear from Keegan.
If Anton saw all of us upset here today, he would probably tell you, sorry, Sean, kite life. I met Anton in 2009 when I had started packing parachutes at Skylark Cape Town, shortly after I started high school. I'd been working there for a month already, and one quiet Saturday morning, a white Kombi came drifting down the runway at top speed. The driver got out of the idling vehicle, walked into the hangar, and started shouting and swearing at everyone, demanding a million answers to many complex questions he had belted out as he maneuvered across the hangar. At this stage, I was standing up. Having never met this person, I ran to Jono's desk asking him, is anyone going to apprehend this man? I think he has Tourette's, and he's probably a bit unstable as well. Jono simply replied, that is your boss. I stood there thinking, how badly do I need this job? Little did I know that day, I met my hero. That is the day the world became a lot more noisy, filled with a whole lot of adventures, life lessons, and stories of epic proportions. Anton had everyone's back and would go to war for his family and friends. He saw them as the most valuable commodity in the world. He was also always prepared for any and all eventualities. I recall in my university years, it was 3 o'clock in the morning and I was stuck in town. I had phoned him to come pick me up from the Cape Suites Hotel. The phone went quiet for a while. He replied, give me an address. 10 minutes later, I see his red Golf approaching the traffic light very slowly. I attempt to flag him down, but he drives right past me. He turns around at the top of the road again, and I try to flag him down again, but he drives past. The third time he approaches and rolls down the window and tells me to get in. I thought I was going to get an ACOG, as he likes to call it. I sit down in the car, and the next thing I see, he takes out his handgun and 3 magazines. He simply asks, how was your night? I thought you got kidnapped by Nigerians and I came prepared. Why did you phone me from a foreign number? I called him the master of the universe because he had a PhD in life and had an incredible amount of knowledge on all topics. Although this nickname then changed to the general at a later stage, as I realized that by him being my surrogate father, I was actually enrolling into the army and everything had to be done with military precision. I don't think he ever got out of that military routine, as every night without fail at 0 to 100, he would go on patrol around the garden and check for any intruders, followed by working in the garden and singing Jimi Hendrix's Hey Joe as loud as he could, including air guitar and drum solos. I never managed to find out if intruders enjoyed the performance though, but I'm sure the neighbors were always highly entertained that time of the morning. Anton immensely appreciated the simple things in life. One of these things included weekly Wednesday meetings with his family, which they call Scalabrino night, which I was privileged enough to attend. This largely involved arriving at a restaurant, Anton making fun of Nino making fun of Anton, Nuku laughing at the two of them, and me sitting quietly wondering if these guys are ever going to grow up. He never did. We were still shooting pellet guns in the garden this year. Anton had a huge heart that didn't always show it. He was as tough as nails and always an optimist. I remember being in the oncologist's office when he was diagnosed with cancer. As the doctor delivered the news, Anton's first response was, okay, so if I start chemo tomorrow, what's the earliest I can go to Europe? The doctor then elaborated on the severity of the situation. Anton was not fazed with what was going on. As he explained to the doctor, he had already been faced with death on many occasions, including 3 airplane crashes, being attacked by a hyena in his tent in Botswana, a heart attack, serving for many years in the South African Parachute Battalion, and let us not forget the thousands of times he jumped out of an airplane. I can promise you all here today, he didn't go gently into that good night. I remember when he started making arrangements for his chemotherapy, He had drawn a list of all the days he would have to attend the session, and he insisted he would drive himself there every day, despite my countless offers to take him. He would come home every day after the therapy, and the first thing he would do was walk into the house and cross off the date like someone would do on a shopping list. He would then dance and say one more down, so many to go. Despite him getting weaker and losing his hair, he remained positive throughout all of it. I remember going to the pharmacy with him to get the medicine while he was having radiation, and they put the medicine in these cages. Anton was weak, but the humor never disappeared. Anyone who knew Anton knew that he could make almost any animal sound you can think of with his mouth. So while standing in the queue at Clicks, he would shake the medicine cage while making a bird noise and explain to everyone in the queue that he did not take his bike into puppy training and he's sorry it's making so much noise. This obviously caused a large amount of laughter and some confused faces, similar to my face the day I first met him. I was privileged enough to help his family take care of him these last few months, and after 2 years and 3 months, almost to the day, after being diagnosed, he never once asked why me or was never upset with the situation. He again just said, it's cut right, still making many jokes whilst bedridden and in a lot of pain. Many people, when being faced with terminal illness, draw up a bucket list. Anton never once mentioned, I still want to do this, or I wish I could still see this. He told me, I've done everything I've ever wanted to do, and more. Everything I get to do now is a bonus. He still went on holidays and shared amazing experiences with his friends and family after his diagnosis, and like he said, all of this is a bonus. There were no regrets. He was straight to the point, lived life at full speed, as clever as anyone, and called a spade a spade. Everyone always knew exactly where they stood with him. Anton always voted for the underdog. He mentored countless people who today, including myself, owe all my successes to. He pushed everyone to be the best version of themselves, not to take life too seriously. I feel honored and privileged to have spent the amount of time I did with him. He was down to earth and didn't care what you looked like or where you came from. It mattered what was inside. He didn't care much for materialistic things either, so much so that he requested to be buried in his bri shirt, his rugby shorts, and his Crocs, because that's what I feel the most comfortable in, I remember him saying. Anton's number one lesson he taught me was to have integrity. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. What you saw was what you got. There was always a joke involved, and he created a personal bond with everyone. That is why his passing has left such a massive hole in everyone's life. He said, you were here once, give it your all and give it your best. I'll miss his countless jokes, his stories, his ability to overcome anything, and his logic. He always made everyone laugh, always entertainment wherever he went. The world is going to be much quieter and boring. Thank you for your legacy, General. You are my hero, and I'll miss you forever.
Thank you, Keegan. He's also asked to read out. Anton's death was harder than I thought it would be. We had been preparing for this day for some time, and I thought that it would make it easier. It didn't. Anton's death left me with the feeling of emptiness rather than sadness. An emptiness that I know will not be filled. He was that unique. I think it is best described as a jigsaw puzzle with no piece, or with one piece missing forever. We eventually made peace with the loss, but it remains unsolved. I met Anton through course, as many of us did. We got to know each other when I participated in the cycle race with course. Being comfortable around Anton was easy. He could talk about anything and had such a good insight and knew what to say and do in any situation. For me, the most comforting was that I could just be myself around him. During the cycle race, we shared accommodation with Herman and his partner. One thing led to another, and the decision was made to form a dinner club. During the race, of course, Anton, Herman, and I enjoyed our time together and wanted to meet on a regular basis, just to have fun. Not fun in a frivolous way, but enjoy ourselves without any pretensions. On reflection, Anton was the center of this, and we duly appointed him as chairman, not because he was overbearing or overly opinionated, but because he was not, that was the role in our world. Additional people were added to the dinner club over time, and I think everyone enjoyed we get together for the same reason. You could just be yourself. This was largely due to Anton's influence. He understood what was important in life for him and understood that everyone is different, but everyone was welcome as long as you weren't a self-centered idiot. As I met other people in Anton's life, I understood that this may have been the greatest gift to all of us. People are different, but he had the ability to make people who have the same core values feel welcome in his company. He didn't offer advice, but if you asked, he would give you an honest opinion. I will fondly remember the time we spent together and the effect that he had on everyone around him. The space that he left will not be filled, and we have lost a piece of our jigsaw puzzle forever. We will celebrate Anton's life and remember him in our thoughts and conversations. So, we've heard a lot of stories from Anton. There's not really much that I can add. We all know that Anton and I had a special bond, and he will be missed greatly. Is there anyone else that has prepared something to say? If not, then I'd like us all to gather together and have some drinks and share stories about Anton and celebrate his life, as that was his wish. And then the pallbearers will come to the front with us.
We zien probably will be serving the room next door because it would be like some.